welcome back to AR77. Today I'm going to drag you right down the rabbit hole with me as we look at a variety of 1911 style pistols. If you've seen any number of my videos, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the 1911 pistol platform, if you will. And it's hard not to be, especially as a replica airguns collector, due to the fact that there's such a variety, on offer. There's so many different choices available, and for the most part, there's a lot of functionality to them. They carry a lot of good weight. They look the part and stuff. So it's a really good pistol to kind of collect. And I'm fortunate in that over the time that I've been collecting, I've managed to grow my collection to the point where I have a number of 1911 style pistols. So I wanted to sort of look through those with you today. And I didn't want to just sort of bring them out and go, yeah, this is nice, and what about this one, isn't that nice too? I wanted to give the video a bit more practicality. So this isn't about my favourite of these. This isn't necessarily about what I think is the best looking one. I'll leave you to decide which one you like the best from a looks point of view. This is more of a kind of a deep dive comparison in terms of how they sort of measure up against the real world counterpart, against the real steel. And I can say that. I can say real steel when we're talking about 1911s, because for the most part, they are full metal pistols. Even, in the real world sort of counterparts. So that's what I thought I'd do. We'll also talk about the functionality that comes with each pistol from a collector's point of view, because you want to know what sort of thing you're buying as well. So bear with me. We're going to have a bit of a, like I said, a bit of a deep dive. We're going to look into some detail around these pistols. If this is your thing, then great. Thanks for staying with me and watching the video. If not, then, well, hey ho. You can't please all the people all the time, can you? All right, let's look at the first pistol. This is a lovely, I guess you'd call it kind of like a commander size 1911 here that we have in front of us. As you can see, it's kind of got an extended magazine there. One of the things I particularly like about this particular pistol is the kind of the finish, particularly on the slide here. You've got almost what you might call a kind of a blued finish to that slide. Of course, I'm joking. Let's get that out of the way and let's get into the first actual replica air pistol. This is the Colt Defender by Umarex. I've done a review on this and all of the pistols that you'll see today if you want more information. But again, we'll go into quite a bit of info around the pistols today. So let's look at the Colt Defender. Well, it's full metal, which is good. There's not much functionality to it. There's no magazine or what you'd call a dropout magazine, at least for your BBs or for your CO2. Your CO2 goes in that side, and your BBs kind of go in that channel on that side. That said, there's very little for it to go wrong. It does carry a lot of nice Colt branding. The trigger works, thankfully, and there is a safety on that side which is functional. That works. So that's okay too. But other than that, there's not really that much going on with this pistol. A great budget offering, you might say, or a great entry into the world of replica firearm pistol collecting. But that's it in terms of ownership and use. When it comes to comparison to the real steel, if I just bring up a picture here of an actual Colt Defender, you can see the similarities. It's that particular length of a 1911 style pistol, very short. You've got a bit of similar sort of branding. You've got the prancing horse. It's probably not called a prancing horse, is it? Anybody knows that? What is it actually called? The Colt logo there. It's probably just a Colt, isn't it? What are the differences there? Well, obviously you've got this kind of safety, which is really an Umarex style safety. You wouldn't have that on the real Colt Defender. Also, of course, there's this trigger that is in no way, shape or form reminiscent of any kind of 1911 style pistol that I've seen, pistol trigger that I've seen. So it works for the air pistol. but yeah, not so much going to win any hearts or minds with the replica collectors among us. But it does its job. Yeah, these sights here, they're non-adjustable. They look quite adjustable, but they're not. These are what I would probably call kind of Bowmar style sights. I'm not sure. I mean, I've looked around on the internet. I've not seen many people with defenders carrying Bowmar style sights of this ilk. So I'm not sure how realistic that is. I mean, I guess if you can change them out, people might put those on. I don't know. If you're an actual firearm owner, if you've got a defender, or if you know a bit more about this than me, which, let's be honest, isn't difficult, get in touch. Let me know what you think about those sights. Obviously, your hammer's not doing anything. We don't have a cutout magazine, cutout slide. That's just like a little sticker there. So, yeah, this beaver tail as well. It's like a cut off beaver tail, which would kind of form part of the sort of the grip safety. The grip safety is not even sort of sticking out here. It just doesn't function. It's just like a grip on here. But I'm not sure how realistic that is. Most of the defenders that I've seen, including the one in the picture that we're using today, kind of has the full sort of beaver tail sticking out there. I'm not sure if maybe you've got a custom job, you might want to cut that off and get rid of that spur maybe for concealed carry, with the real steel. I don't know. But there you go, that's the Colt Defender. Not much more to say about that really. I think we can move that off the list. Oh, here's another thing. I've not seen many Colt Defenders that carry a rail. There's not, I mean, up until very recently, there wasn't an awful lot of 1911 style pistols that carried rails, really. We'll talk about that in a bit more depth as we kind of get into the video a bit. But yeah, and obviously you've got no recessed barrel because that's the nature of the air pistol. Kind of works like that, so you're not going to get a recess on that. There you go, the Colt Defender by Umbrex. A nice little pistol, not much functionality to it, and comparison to the real steel, well, for me that trigger is the straw that breaks the camel's back, unfortunately. Let's move on to another pistol then. Very similar in a variety of ways, also made by Umbrex, so you can kind of forgive them for that. This is the Colt Special Combat, as I said, by Umbrex. This does have the full-size dropout metal magazine. That just comes out the bottom there like that. So that's okay. Does have this tab on the bottom though, so once the magazine is in the pistol, it kind of spoils the illusion a little bit. We've talked about that before on the channel. You can deal with that. You can sort some things out. This does have a little bit more realism to it. With this pistol, you do have a slide that kind of functions. The slide will also lock back, although it won't lock back after your final shot because this is a non-blowback pistol. You can cock it by racking the slide, but other than that, it serves no real function other than kind of cosmetic. A nice looking pistol. Yeah, functionality, so you can cock it with the slide. You can obviously cock it with the hammer like that. Then you can also just fire it double action, which really shouldn't be the case with a 1911 for the purists out there. You shouldn't be able to shoot a 1911 double action. The single action only pistols. So there you go. You've got a moving slide, you've got a working hammer. Your grip safety doesn't do anything, but it does look a bit more the part. It has got that kind of flared beaver tail there. Nice looking pistol, the Colt Special Combat by Umbrex. Yeah, really nice looking pistol. And again, you can see similar to the other one, to the Defender, it's got these kind of what you might call Bowmar style sights. I think this one is actually adjustable, so that's another bit of functionality to it. But just like with the Colt Defender, you can't field strip this pistol without additional tools and so on and so forth. So there's another reduction there in the functionality of this pistol. In comparison to the real steel, as I should get sponsored to say that because I'm going to be saying it a lot throughout the course of this video. You've obviously got the trigger that spoils things a little bit, or a lot actually. Single and double action, so that's not really that realistic. You can't field strip it. These front serrations, I mean, you do get kind of front serrations in a number of 1911s. They're perhaps a bit more unusual, more usual these days, I guess. I'm not sure exactly which 1911 you'd say this is a replica of. There are a couple. I think there's one called the Combat Special Government, which I'll perhaps put a picture up on somewhere around here, I guess. I think it's called the Combat Special rather than the Special Combat. And that's similar. That can be a two-tone pistol. I'm not even sure if they still make that anymore. These front serrations here, with the number of them, I don't know. It looks a little bit like perhaps the Remington 1911 R1 enhanced. Obviously, you've got a rail here as well, so that's going to be only a handful of 1911 pistols made by Colt that'll come with the sort of the rail like that. So perhaps not a direct comparison. It does look nice though in the two-tone, doesn't it? With the kind of the brushed steel down the slide and the black to kind of contrast with that. So, very nice pistol. The Colt Special Combat by Umrex. Functionality, a little bit more than the Defender, but still not really a true representation for a committed replica collector. You might want to get that for eye candy. And it's a nice pistol. You know, again, like I said, all these pistols are my own personal guns, and I wouldn't have bought them had I not thought I would get some enjoyment out of shooting them. So even with the Defender, it's a lovely little pistol, and I really enjoy shooting it. Really enjoy bringing it out. I like compact pistols anyway. So I'm not dissing it. I'm not dissing any of these guns. But let's get a little bit more real, and we'll bring another pistol to the table. Look at that bad boy. Okay, so this is the Sig Sauer 1911 Spartan. A pretty good, pretty faithful replica, if I'm honest. I'm counting this as kind of two pistols. I don't have the other one they brought out at the same time, which is the Max Michel, I think you pronounce it, which is, to all intents and purposes, exactly the same pistol, exactly the same frame and everything. I think the only notable differences are the slightly different trigger. I think it might just be the trigger, actually. I think the hammer and the sights and everything else are identical. It's a silver pistol, silver and black kind of two-tone pistol, the Max Michel, and obviously you've got kind of different grips because these are specific to the Spartan. This is a really nice pistol. In terms of functionality, this has a little bit more than the pistols we've seen already. This is a blowback pistol. You can rack the slide. That does put it into single action. It does function only in single action. There's no sort of double action functionality to this pistol. You do have a working grip safety, pretty much full metal, this pistol as well, apart from the grips, which I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, you've got a single action pistol now, single action 1911. It will blow back. You've got, I mean, for this one, I'll just show you. You've got with these grips come off, and your CO2 kind of goes in there. And you do have, with the Spartan and the Max Michel, a dropout ammunition magazine. Ammunition magazine, there's a new term. However, it is just a plastic stick mag. So while you do have that functionality, it's not like you're going to be slamming that up into the mag well there. You're going to be a bit more delicate with it because it's pretty flimsy kind of plastic magazine. Nevertheless, it serves its function. The pistol looks good. Yeah. In terms of functionality though, with the blowback, like I said, it does blow back. but it only kind of comes back to about there once you've shot your last round. So I'm not sure when it fires. I'm guessing it blows back all the way to kind of that point. But once you've finished, it's going to lock back there after your last shot, which isn't quite realistic. And you can't field strip this pistol without, like I said, without using kind of tools to do so. Having said that, let's compare the Spartan to the real steel once again. Notable differences: you've got the quite obvious BB caliber 4.5mm or .177 sized muzzle, if you will, or barrel there. So that's a bit of a giveaway. If I bring up a picture of the actual Spartan, you'll see that it is pretty faithful in terms of being a replica. You have the kind of, I would call those, what are they, kind of Novak style sights. I think Sig make their own, don't they? It's like Sig Try something, I guess. So that's pretty accurate. You can see that the trigger is identical and the hammer shape is identical also. One big noticeable difference is I think the Mark 1 Spartan, like in our picture here, didn't come with a rail, an accessory rail like that. I think the Mark 2 Spartan, they upgraded and they sort of added a rail to the Mark 2. But as far as I'm aware, the Mark 1 Spartan didn't come with that kind of accessory rail. That is, I think, because when they created these air pistols, I think they probably used the same moulds, certainly for the lower frame, as they've used for the replica versions of the Sig 1911 GSR. GSR stands for Granite Series Rail, and it was the sort of, I think they were the first 1911 style pistols that Sig began to make. Not an expert, like I said, but they carry this kind of shaped rail here, and I think they probably just used the same the same mold when they created the Spartan here. So there you go. I think although this magazine is only this front bit here, this kind of extended style on the magazine does look just like the photo of the actual Spartan. So there you go. I think that's pretty faithful. A really nice pistol. Like I say, because it's not what I would call necessarily full on blowback. It's quite loose when you're shooting that slide, but you do get pretty good feet per second off this pistol, and you have to agree, it looks, well, the nuts, as I've said before about pistols. It looks a great looking pistol. That I think this and the Max Michel are both good looking. I feel like the Max Michel was possibly more popular when they came out because they're harder to get hold of now, or maybe they just made less of them. I don't know. But yeah, really nice pistol. Really like all the branding and stuff, all the Molong Larbe stuff, and the Spartan kind of theme to it. Looks a really nice pistol. So there you go. A little bit closer to quite an accurate replica of a 1911 style pistol. Let's bring in a couple more now in quite quick succession, because ultimately these are the same pistol. So we have the Swiss Arms 1911 tactical rail system there in kind of stainless, and we have the Remington RAC 1911 RAC tactical. Now these two pistols are identical in all but cosmetics, really. Brilliant pistols, made by KWC. They are, in my opinion, by far the best manufacturer of replica 1911 style air pistols. So full functionality, you've got a full-sized drop-out metal magazine. Obviously you can see that there's a space there for the CO2, but actually in terms of the width of that magazine, it's not that far off, identical to a 1911 sized magazine. fully functioning, full metal. Your grip safety works, your hammer works, your safety works, your trigger works. The pistol itself will rack and will blow back when you're shooting. Also, after the last round, it will lock back in the full kind of lock back position. This pistol is field strippable and does everything you would want a pistol to do. Really beautiful, really nice pistol. Yeah, identical really is the 1911 TAC. So they're fully functioning, beautiful pistols, full metal, full weight. Both carry these kind of, again, Novak style sights. I guess that's a brand name, isn't it? So let's look at if they're full function, how close are they to a real world 1911? Well, if we look at this, let's use the black one here. If we look at this next to a pistol like the Kimber Warrior, you can see quite a lot of similarities there. I've made these comparisons before. The Novak style sights, the shape of the hammer there, this nice long beaver tail at the back there, the skeletonized trigger. Again, these slide serrations at the front there, and this particular detail here makes me think this is very much based off of a Kimber Warrior. Also, even just the shaping in this grip, this pattern, like almost like a chain link type of pattern, I think came on the Kimber Warrior when it was initially released. But it is a Remington in its branding. So is there a Remington that is similar? Well, yeah, the Remington 1911 R1 Enhanced also carries pretty much all of the same features, other than that kind of that jutting out bit there on the lower frame. So you could say that actually this is a replica of a Remington, a pretty close replica of a Remington Enhanced, or of a Kimber. In fact, I think if you buy this pistol, either of these pistols in their airsoft version, you could probably get one that says Kimber on it. But yeah, beautiful pistols, once again, full metal, full function, and pretty accurate. Not 100% accurate necessarily, but getting closer to it. So let's bring those away. Trying to find somewhere to put all these pistols when they're not being shown. Okay, one more pistol for you. Well, two more pistols for you, but here's the next one. This is the Remington 1911 RAC. A really nice looking pistol, really kind of traditional looking 1911 style pistol. Has all of the same functionality of those previous two, because this is also made by KWC, so it does, you can field strip it, it's full metal, there's a lovely weight to it. There's something about this pistol that I just adore, if I'm honest. I don't want to get too emotional about it, but there's something about the clean lines of that initial kind of design. As much as I love, something that has the rail on it and all of that's great, and the skeletonized trigger and all these slides, all these serrations and stuff, and I love all of that, but I really love this just classic lines to that. It's like, do you know what I would compare it to? Is something like a Porsche 911 or Porsche 911. The style of that car is in some ways a really good comparison to the 1911, because you see a 1911. Well, never mind, they both carry the numbers 9 and 11 in the title, but if you Porsche 911 or Porsche 911, if you saw the first one that was built and you saw one today, you would recognise it, you would see its lineage, you would see the heritage in that, and for the most part, it's very much the same kind of shape, a vehicle. Same with the 1911. You get the modern one, you're going to get something like the Spartan here, and it's all bells and whistles and stuff, and rails and skeletonized trigger and all of that. And you know, this is a Sig one, so they've made it a bit sharper, made it a bit more Sig-like, more modern sights and all of that, and the beaver tail and all this jazz. But you can still see the heritage there when you look at the 1911 RAC here by Remington. So that's a big selling point for me. The fact that it does everything is a really big selling point for me, along with the fact that it looks such a classic shape. In terms of the actual real world firearm then, well, let's have a look at that. You know, this is obviously a replica of the 1911 A1 model, which Remington did manufacture. They did manufacture 1911s in the A1 sort of iteration. Some differences between the initial 1911 and the A1. They added frame cutouts. I think I'm going to have a picture up here. You'll be able to see. You'll be able to compare these differences. They added the cutouts there for comfort, I believe. This arched mainspring housing. If I show you the other version of it, kind of a 1911, sometimes the mainspring housing is flat, but specifically on the 1911 A1, they added this kind of arched mainspring housing, I guess, to fit different hands and so on and so forth. Obviously, in the real world, you can change those out. A shorter trigger, yeah, check. It carries a shorter trigger, just like the actual A1. The hammer spur here was kind of shortened for the A1, and I believe it looks like on this replica version the same is true. What else? The grip safety spur, I think that was extended. I think people used to get a bit of is it hammerback when every time your pistol sort of recoils, it sends that hammer back. And I think that used to sometimes dig into the back of people's hands, so they extended this grip safety just to prevent that. So yeah, that's accurate from that point of view. Slightly wider front sights than they had on the initial kind of 1911. Not sure about that. I think this represents that slightly wider front sight. And also the simplified grip pattern. On the initial 1911, I think they carried the diamonds on the grip, similar to the, let me show you, if I bring in the Swiss arms, they were probably a bit more like that with the diamond pattern on the initial 1911, but they changed that, simplified it for the A1. So you have to admit, as they go, this Remington is pretty close to the real world 1911 A1 style pistol, and Remington made these. Obviously though, Remington didn't put Remington all the way down it like that. I think in the picture that I've got, if I can maybe bring that back up, I think you can see very subtly that it has Remington etched into the slide. Obviously they were worried about things like war, and were less concerned about the minutiae of health and safety, I guess. So they didn't carry things like this. Obviously they were actual firearms, so less likely to get into the hands of young people and Joe Public, I guess, at that point, or maybe more likely to actually. But yeah, so we've got all this warning stuff that we have to kind of either put up with or do something about on these pistols. But that's got to be up there as one of the best replica air pistols you can get. Which brings me to my final pistol. Okay, let's have a look. This is the Sig Sauer 1911 We the People edition. It's made by Sig Sauer, just like the Spartan, or should I say it's distributed or sold, packaged as a Sig Sauer. but it's made by KWC, the same people that make the Swiss Arms and the same people that make the Remington. So, good lineage, if you will. It also means that this pistol carries full functionality. You've got your full magazine, just like with the others. Slide works. It will look back after your final shot. You do have blowback. You have everything going for this pistol. You can field strip it just like the others. Brilliant. Full functionality. In terms of the real world firearm, well, let's have a look. If I pop that there, and we put up a picture kind of here, you'll see that actually this is pretty much identical to the actual firearm. You can see that these bits here, the trigger is exactly the same kind of trigger. You can see that little details like here, the cutout on the top of the slide, that is the same. These sights are the same as you get on the actual pistol itself. The actual shape of the hammer there is identical. Everything about this pistol. You've got the We the People branding right in there. Got your 1776 there. All these bits, I don't know if you can pick that up, those sort of stars on the top. So accurate, you know. And what I like about this particular edition, what I like that Sig Sauer have done is they've taken all the best bits of a very modern style of pistol. For instance, those sights are far easier to use than the sights on the A1 style pistol. You've got no white dot there. You really have to find that front sight between those. This is far simpler to use a more modern sight like that. Also, this extended beaver tail is a really nice comfortable fit in your hand as well. Really nice. So we've got all the benefits of that sort of modern pistol. But what I particularly like is that it doesn't carry a rail on the front. It does maintain those lovely sort of smooth lines of the original 1911. And as per the original 1911, we've gone back to that flat mainspring housing there. So for me, this is a culmination of all of the best aspects of 1911 pistols, kind of old and new, if you will. This is a really nice representation. I mean, look at the grip. This is full metal. Even the grips are full metal. And when it comes to the bits that might spoil it, those, you could say, necessary warning bits of information, they are just white, yeah, fine. But because of the colour of the pistol, I don't think they spoil it too much. I would prefer they weren't there. I'll give you that. I would prefer that they weren't there. Or I would prefer that they did them in black writing. I would prefer that they did them in grey writing. I would much prefer it if they just etched them in to that frame there. But I don't honestly think you could say that they are as intrusive as the ones you get on the Remington sort of tactical version. So for me, in terms of functionality as an owner of the pistol, this is by far the best 1911 style pistol on the market. In terms of functionality, all of these kind of KWC ones are excellent. You'll be really pleased with any one of them. They're all full metal, all good weight, all field strippable, all fully functional, as I've said 100 times before in other videos. But particularly with the Sig Sauer 1911 We the People edition, what you have is such a close replica that for any replica collector, you're going to be over the moon to have this in your collection. Everything looks the part, everything functions as it should. You'd be hard pushed to find something about this other than perhaps those little bits of white writing. You'd be hard pushed to find anything about this pistol from a functionality or from a replica perspective that you didn't like. So for me, that is the best 1911 style pistol on the market. You might not think it's the best looking, you might not like this, you might not like the finish to it. So aesthetically, you might not think it's the best looking, but in terms of the functional aspects of the replica conversion, it's bang on the money. So there you go. We've looked at, I think, what, 7 different 1911 style pistols there. We'll ignore this one. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you've enjoyed looking at those pistols in a little bit more detail than perhaps I normally would. A little bit of a little bit of history squeezed in there, and a bit of a comparison. I have to say the story isn't over, because while they keep making these 1911 style pistols, I'm going to have to say I'm going to try as far as I possibly can to keep buying them. So stick with me. As I get them, I'll bring them to you. And if you get any that I don't have, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments on the channel. As always, thank you for staying with me. Thanks for joining me today. I do enjoy making these videos, but I'm aware that they can be quite, maybe even self-indulgent. I kind of do it for me, if I'm honest. And if somebody is of the same opinion as me, then that's a bonus. Even if you disagree, but you're happy to have the conversation, that's a bonus. So thanks once again. All the best. Stay safe. Do take care. Bye.